way, with its library and spending power, how is the Mouse House going to compete with veteran streamers like Netflix? Joining us right now to talk about that and much more is Rich Greenfield. He is co-founder and media technology analyst at Lightshed Partners. And Jim Stewart, who is New York Times columnist and a CNBC contributor. Jim, what do you think in terms of the pricing? What's it mean for Disney?
Well, I think the pricing is aggressive. I think it kind of
aggressive meaning low.
Meaning low,
yeah.
Yes. And it sent shockwaves through the whole media thing when they came out with that price. But, look, they're investing for the long term. I think that's smart. They're going to get a massive base in there. And as we've seen Netflix raise prices when they can, they'll raise prices. It's this kind of Amazon strategy that everybody wants to put into play, which is, trust us, this is a long-term investment, there's going to be a J-curve, we're going to have some high upfront costs, but it's going to pay off big in the long term. And I think that's clearly their strategy. Rich,
are investors going to be patient with Disney on this and with Bob Iger?
Look, Disney's basically telling the entire world the legacy cable bundle is dead. I mean, this is putting it in the rearview mirror. They're just owning it, right? Like, instead of fighting it and saying no and trying to battle with investors saying, no, it'll be okay, they're literally saying, look, the future is streaming. We're putting our best content onto Disney+. Look, last week, maybe more interesting than Disney+, they told you that FX content, so it airs on FX if you have Charter or Comcast. A few hours later, it's going to be on Hulu. So you don't need a cable bundle to watch American Horror Story. You don't need a cable bundle to watch Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Like, all of it's going to be on Hulu without the need for cable. And so I think this is Disney acknowledging that the future is streaming. The only problem they have is they do own this asset called ESPN, which needs the cable bundle. And there really is no answer for what happens to ESPN. They're just in a really hard spot.
So, again, will investors have the patience and see this out over the next several years? Or is there going to be a turn where they say, well, hold on a second, digital dollars or dollars being traded for digital dimes or whatever the saying is?
This is a real challenge, Becky. You are trading big, profitable businesses, cable networks where everybody paid for Disney Channel, whether they wanted it or not. People bought DVDs, whether they watched them or not. Nobody's signing up for Disney Plus unless they want it. Big marketing efforts. I mean, obviously, you'd have to be literally not on planet Earth to not know that Disney Plus was launching. The marketing spend is going to continue. This is going to be a very, very expensive proposition. And we're going to see Disney's got to balance new versus old. Companies like Netflix, obviously, are only focused on the future. There's no balancing. Now, Disney's getting probably more aggressive between prices. Jim just talked about, like, they're getting more aggressive than people probably expected them to be. But this is still, from an investment standpoint, earnings estimates were a year ago for 2020 were $8.30.
And now?
You're now sub $6, and there's investors that think it could be sub $5. So this is a very expensive, challenging proposition to execute on.
It sounds like betting the house, right, Jim?
Well, this really is revolutionary. It's both that they've, as Rich says, they're abandoning the cable model, clearly. They're also, though, abandoning the old Disney strategy, which is we make the content and we'll let somebody else distribute it. They've never been distributors before. Now they are going full bore into the streaming where they own the distribution mechanism. And that is a new business for them.
Does that mean that they're going to be gathering your information and finding some way to maybe make some of this back just on the massive database they built up?
I assume so. I mean, that's the digital world. That's
right.
That's what every big tech company has done. It's been the holy grail to get all this information, target the advertising. Yeah, I think that's definitely part of their long-term strategy.
What do they need to charge when they, declining cable bundles? What will they eventually need to charge for Disney Plus to be as profitable as they were last year? What's the monthly price?
Well, there's two aspects. One is, when do they put their best content onto Disney Plus? Right now, their best content is still going to the movie theater. So if you want to see Frozen 2, it's going to be in theaters, then it's going to go to home video and iTunes and Amazon, and then, 6 months after theatrical, it's going to end up on Disney Plus.
Sooner or later.
If they end up with day and date, the way Netflix is doing with movies like The Irishman, they probably could charge $15, maybe even $20 a month.
Enough to be as profitable as that.
That's where it gets really
keep the stock where it is.
Because you got to remember, it's not just. I mean, I was thinking through. I own every one of these DVDs. If I don't have to buy the DVDs anymore, if I don't have to do any of those things, there's more than one or two different revenue streams that are going to get impacted by this.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's the real question here is that, what's the future? And remember, original programming right now is pretty light. Like, I got up this morning at 6 a.m. I watched episode 1 of The Mandalorian. It's 36 minutes long. At the end of 36 minutes,
you got up this morning to do that?
I did. I had to come watch it before I came here.
Tweeted it out, too.
So it's 36 minutes. You finish it. there's no episode 2 because they make you wait a week to watch the next episode. There isn't like a lot to do. So I think the low price is also sort of emblematic of the fact that there isn't that much new content. A lot of catalog content.
A la Apple, right?
But I do think Disney has a cost advantage longer term here because they own so much intellectual property that they can develop on their own. I mean, you
they
look
have
at
their own library.
The bidding wars going on for like the morning show, the Apple, Amazon, they're all creating it from scratch. The money they're shelling out is massive. Disney is not getting involved in that. They don't have to do it. That is where they are going to be very good at production and capitalizing on the intellectual property they already have. In terms of where this price ends up, I think a lot of that's going to be, well, how many of these things are going to survive? If you end up with like 3 major streaming services, essentially some kind of oligopoly here, then they're going to start moving the price up pretty dramatically.
The other thing to think about is that most TV shows that have been successful in history have not come from movie franchises. If you think about the most iconic TV shows that you've loved, go all the way back in time, the only one you probably jumps off the page is MASH, right, which started as a movie and
Happy Days.
That started as a movie?
American Graffiti, kind of.
Oh.
You're stretching, but okay, fine. I'll give it to you, Joe. But like, it's, the idea that you're going to create, massive TV properties, usually they've been really original ideas. Sometimes they've come from books. I mean, things like Game of Thrones, but movies into TV shows is something new. And we're going to see how well Disney, because that's a big part of their strategy, is to take things that were movies and turn them, spin-off aspects of them, Mandalorian, Loki.
They've been doing that for a long time in the children's properties. I think of Lion King and all of the other ones that they've kind of spun off, the little low-key versions.
But these have never been iconic TV shows that the whole world feasted on. And we're going to see how well that does in the TV world. My first impression of The Mandalorian, beautiful, incredibly shot. But really, for a Star Wars fanatic, it's not for kind of a broad mass audience the way kind of a Marvel Avengers film feels more mass audience.
Talk about sports again. You mentioned it a few minutes ago. Are live sports going to be on Disney Plus 5 years from now?
Well, they have ESPN Plus, and there are live sports on that. It's more niche sports. I mean, it's Series A, it's UFC, it's not NFL Monday Night Football, which was on ESPN last night. The real question is as the cable bundle keeps shrinking, cord cutting, 4% decrease year over year in subscribers in Q3 2019 is what we just have seen reported. Comcast, your parent company, increasingly focused on the broadband business and moving away from its focus on the video business. It really raises the question of how many video cable subscribers will there ultimately be? We think 85 million plus today probably ends up in the mid-40s.
Because of sports. And
the 45 are the diehard sports fans. Right. The problem is that a business for a network like ESPN, very hard to support the economic model of paying multiple billions for Monday Night Football when you only have 40 to 50 million subscribers.
That's interesting. Live sports have been the thing keeping everybody afloat and saying that was the thing. You don't think that exists anymore, even with a property like the Olympics or something?
Look, I think it keeps these channels. It keeps a reason for these channels to exist. The question is, if you're not a sports fan, why do you need the bundle? The best content, we just talked about it, Apple TV Plus, Mandalorian, Stranger Things on Netflix, all the great content.
The first place I still go when I turn on the TV is through the guides to see if there's anything I want to watch there. And if there's nothing I want to watch there, then I go to one of the other sites.
I don't think that's a behavior of a younger person. I mean, putting us all in the category of we're all older.
You just called me okay boomer.
Yeah, I know.